Let's kickstart this session. I think we have the participants online. Okay, so I'd like to welcome you all to the inaugural session of Connections by the Red Brick Summit 2020. The Red Brick Summit, in its virtual avatar, is the fourth rendition of IIM Ahmedabad's annual business symposium. Over its last three sessions, we witnessed participation from more than 500 colleges in India, with a footfall of close to 25,000 across the fest. TRBS has hosted industry bigwigs, policymakers, entrepreneurs, and distinguished personalities to interact with and help shape the future business leaders. Connections is the arm of TRBS hosted exclusively by PGPX, which is IIM Ahmedabad's one-year full-time residential program for executives. We have with us the chairperson of the program as well, Professor Vishwanath Pingley. Good afternoon, Professor. All right. Now, let me introduce to you the keynote speaker of our event, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani. Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani is a renowned Indian industrialist, philanthropist, and the founder and MD of the Hiranandani Group. He is the national president of India's oldest trade body, ASSOCHAM, and leading real estate body, Naredco, under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs in the Government of India. He also serves as a member of the RERA Council Cell and is an active member of the Central Governing Council of the Promotion Council under the Ministry of Commerce. In the past, Mr. Hiranandani has been a member of the Task Force for Reforms in Housing and Urban Development of the Government of India and has been the convener of the key group representing the business community in the United Nations Conference on Human Settlements. A first-generation entrepreneur with sharp business acumen and a powerful vision. Dr. Hiranandani has rightly earned himself the tag of a thought leader in the Indian business ecosystem. So, on behalf of Connections, I would like to welcome Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani. Good afternoon. Are you unable to mute yourself? Just a second.
I think I'm unmuted now. Thank you.
Okay.
Very good afternoon to each and every one of you. It's my privilege to speak in IIM Ahmedabad. This is the first occasion that I've had to speak over here. I've done lots of other institutions, but this is my first opportunity to come to IIM Ahmedabad. So thank you very much for the invitation. And it's my pleasure and privilege to be here with you this afternoon. I'm really happy to know about your program, the one-year executive program for students in there. And thank you very much. It's nice and pleasure to be with Professor Vishwanath. Thank you, Nitika, for inviting me and being here as part of this program. Yeah, go ahead, please.
So, am I audible? Right. Okay.
Yes.
So, Dr. Hiranandani, we are thrilled to have you today. And in fact, all of us, we have a lot to learn from you in terms of your life experiences, the lessons from your entrepreneurial journey, and what makes a thoughtful leader like you. So, without much further ado, please go ahead, take over.
Thank you, Nitika. Really, to be honest with you, large amount of life goes spent in things that go very wrong. And we learn so much from the wrong part of our lives that it's equally important to know what it is which makes us successful. I came from a professional family, so I never had any idea of what business or entrepreneurship was all about. So for me, it was learning from a zero. I had no breakfast knowledge from my parents or otherwise, and basically handicapped in terms of understanding what business and industry was, because I just had an angle of it from a professional outlook. Today, the situation is quite different. But over a period of years, I did imbibe certain thoughts which have come together in saying that, oh, if I had done this, there's more likelihood for me to be successful than otherwise. Second, I learned from so many people in life, and there was a constant reason for me to imbibe new knowledge because I started from a zero. So it was easier for me to learn. That's, I think, is the most important thing, that we all need to be learners all our lives. I took up BCom, and then I did my chartered accountancy from Mumbai, and then got straight into business. That was my first step into a territory which was quite unknown to me. But during my time that I was in my college, I did go into various institutions, various factories, various business enterprises, and worked over there for during summer. So I did get an idea of the flavor of various businesses. And I think that helped me in very good stead. So the most idea of which I can start with is really to see different aspects of the businesses which you are not into, or to pick up those places where you already have people doing business and getting into it. Many times people have good ideas, and youngsters today, because you are so well read, well connected, information available on the internet, it's so easy to pick up the new ideas and opportunities that come in. But what is it that we really need to learn is basically to see, can we actually pick up the nuances of that trade or business before we actually jump into it. However, the most important thing that I've learned all over the years is that when you get into a business or a new business, it's not about what you like in the businesses. You have to learn over a period of time to love your business. Many times people say, oh, I like this work. You know, this person is going to get nowhere in that business because he just likes it, because the evening is the time that he loves. It is the holidays that he loves. He likes the entertainment that he loves, or he has another extracurricular activity which interests that person. But if you actually love or be passionate about what you want to do, then you're a different animal completely. Because any time that you get into work, you're enjoying it. And that's the first focus that I learned in my life, that you have to pick up things which are closest to the heart. Of course, they're supposed to make money, but they also need to be closest. Let me give you my own short story about the project for which I have continually people know me for, which is the Hiranandani Gardens project in Powai in Mumbai. This project was something which was very far away from the center of the city at that point of time when I took it 35 years ago. How did it come about? What was the real reason why I went into this kind of location that made me enter into Powai and take up this project? This was an experience that I had from an earlier project, which was in Warsaw, where we made 11 buildings in a project which is called Lokhandwala Complex. Every time I completed a building, and it was a good building, I was very happy with my building. But when I went upstairs and looked out of the window, what did I see? I saw the road network was bad. The streets were not properly done. There was no good sewer lines over there. The water main actually brought inadequate water supply to the project. And I did 1, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 10th, 11th building. Every time, happy to look at my building, very unhappy to look at the surroundings. One thing came to my mind, that I hope when I make money to make a project which is large enough where everything of the infrastructure around my buildings will be very beautiful. The city of Mumbai wasn't going to make any such infrastructure. Nobody made projects in those days of the type which we made in terms of townships. But it was a dream. It was a thought in my mind that I would take up something which I would be very happy about at the end of the day. So I picked up a project, a land, which was very far away from the center of the city at that point of time. Now, of course, the city has grown up into that area. And I took up this large piece of land, starting small, not so profitable in the initial stages, and then slowly building it. And what did I do? The roads built by me, the gardens built by me, the school built by me, the hospital built by me, the shopping center built by me, the entertainment complex built by me. So all of them were made beautifully and did extremely well. The story of success of Hiranandani Gardens Powai is historical. We have won hundreds of national and international awards for the project. But the thought of it came from an idea that you need to make not only good buildings, but buildings around it. Now, this is just my story and how it's there. But it's applicable to so many stories that I can share with you. Take another story, the story of Mukesh Ambani. Mukesh Ambani in the telecom trade. At the time when mobile phones started, the cost of a mobile phone, let me share with you, was 33 rupees a minute talking time, 15 rupees for incoming and 15 rupees something for an outgoing call. It was an impossible practice. The announcement made by Dhirubhai Ambani, Mukesh Ambani, together at the time when they were launching the Reliance communication thought process was that we will make a mobile call cheaper than a postcard. In those days, the postcard was sent at 1 rupee a postcard. Everybody was quite stunned, disbelieving that this could be even ever possible. But even for Reliance at that time, which was just starting into the mobile line, it was a dream. It was a thought process which couldn't come, but it was a thought on an aspiration model that ultimately became real. In fact, the telephone call today is less than 1 rupee a minute. And in fact, in some cases, if you take packages and you take the other internet connectivity, it's free. So that's the difference between an aspiration model that you do, which you build up into the business, which becomes extremely important. What's the second great learning that I had over a period of years? And the second real learning was that change is the only constant. And I'm not only talking about the COVID times, which is today, and I'm sure we wouldn't have had a lecture through the virtual mode if I had otherwise been invited by you. I would have had to travel to Ahmedabad, come to the program, stay over there, be invited there. All of us would have gathered over there and their speech would take place. Today, because of the COVID situation and the availability of various virtual situations, we're able to do. And hence, we have adapted to this change situation to run this particular program. But let's look at the changes which have taken place over a period of years of the best companies in India. I'll again go back to the company called Reliance. 35 years ago, Reliance was a textile company. 99% of the profits of Reliance came from textiles. The advertisement used to be only Vimal. That was Reliance in those days. Make a guess as to what is the percentage of textiles in the turnover of Reliance today, or the value proposition in Reliance today. It's less than 0.1% of Reliance's turnover or the Reliance's capital value, and that is textiles. Over a period of time, the most successful company, the wealthiest company in India, has had to change its proposition over a period of years. It had to move away from the comfort zone. It had to find new avenues of business and thought process. And it went from textiles to polythene to petroleum to telecom to retail and all these new activities. So every time you and I remained comfortable in the businesses or enterprises that we were doing, Reliance never slept. They got up again and said, what is the new change that we need to do, not for business of today, but the business of tomorrow? So the most important thing is, even when you're a most successful company in the world, or in the country, you have to remember to be the change. Can I give you another example of that? The most famous example in the world of companies which refused to change and died is Kodak. I'm sure you know that story. Kodak had the entire patent for digital photography for 10 years. 10 years before digital photography came into the marketplace. But the company and the directors decided that they will not go into digital. Why? Because they found that it was imperative to protect their chemicals which they use in photography, the equipment that they had, the back-end printing that they did, the paper or printed paper on which they did. So they kept digital out till the patent expired after 10 years. That was the time for those patents in those days. And once the digital opened out, Kodak got finished. And today, Kodak is no more a company which went into liquidation because of it. So one of the things that we as entrepreneurs and businesses have to know, please don't ever remain in the comfort zone. Even if you're on the top of the world, all the more reason why you always have to be ready to understand what is the change momentum that is taking place. And every time there is a challenge like COVID times, the change is even much more imperative. My discussion today on this camera is itself an indication of what is going to be really done. Another thing which I've noticed of companies which have good enterprises are the ability to improve regularly. What is it that really is done by these companies? No matter what is the model of your mobile phone, within 1 year, 2 years, you have a better phone. Is it really better? Of course it is. And that positioning of a better Apple phone or the next generation phone or the next one indicates what we really have to do, not only for the equipment which we manufacture, but also the performance that we give to our businesses every single day. If you make a habit of learning to improve every time whatever you're doing it, even if that improvement is 1%, it doesn't matter, because 1% or one step every day in terms of improvement is going to mean 365% improvement by the end of the year, 365 steps of improvement that you can possibly do. And this is a lesson you have to learn, that irrespective of how good you are, you have to continue to take steps to improve yourself into the period of time. Many times, we are always taught that in our businesses, we must benchmark with other people. I found over a period of time, benchmarking is a very good idea, but it is not enough. The reason is that let's presume you're a top company in that particular field of activity. What does the benchmark indicate? It indicates to you that you are better than others. So that's where you are. But at the end of the day, what is it that you really need to know? You have to learn over a period of time that you got to constantly improve, even if you are benchmarked on the top. So just benchmarking is not enough. Benchmarking may give you an indication, but that's not the end of the day. You have to learn to do it. Many times I'm questioned by people in my industry by people in business. Niranjan, Hiranandani, please can you tell me the name of at least a few of your competitors? My answer is always same, and that is Niranjan Hiranandani is the most biggest competitor of Niranjan Hiranandani. I am my own competitor because I have to constantly learn to improve myself. Because if I'm on the top of my line, how do I remain on top? By competing with others? I cannot, because they are not as good as me. Does it mean that I'm not going to improve? Does it mean that I'm not going to become better? Does it mean that there is no space to still go above and better ourselves to do it? Again, I go back to the company called Reliance. In October of 2019, Mr. Mukesh Ambani, chairman, made a statement that we will be a debt-free company in a period of 18 months. This was quite astounding, and especially during COVID times, we all thought that this story is not going to happen. Lo and behold, we found very quickly that even in the midst of COVID times, the company took a challenge and made it a debt-free company and got investments from all over the world into the telecom and the retail business. And that has made Reliance today one of the few companies in India which have become debt-free in these extremely difficult times. So what did it mean? If Reliance was only competing with the other companies in the country, oh, all the companies having debt and all the companies are restructuring their debt, so Reliance can do the same. It would be like any other company, but they don't rest over there. They want to be a company with a difference, and that is what really makes a difference in the life of a company, that they still want to see that the commitments that they have made are made better and better. And this kind of passion becomes extremely important. People have mentioned over a period of time that what is the time when we can actually start improving ourselves, or we can pick up new opportunities in our life? Because you are all young people, and obviously the opportunities for the young today are many. There is the startups are issues, incubations are available centers, innovations are there. There is a lot of technology available to you in order to make new ideas and new thoughts in terms of businesses and ideas to be done. But it doesn't matter. Actually, over a period of years, I've realized that age is just a number. And that is why it is not important at what age you learn newer things and newer thoughts and newer businesses and whatever change you want to do. Let me give a small example, my own self. I started my business at the age of around 26. And after that, I got into textiles. I lost money in textiles. I started real estate. I was losing money in real estate, and I had to sell one of my businesses. I didn't know which one to sell. I got a letter from the union in my textile business, which said that they wanted 100% increase in wages. And of course, I was pretty shocked and couldn't understand this. However, I got a hint that they would be happy with a 10% increase in wages. But I always wondered, why would they send this letter? And I suddenly realized that because I couldn't decide, this letter helped me. I took a decision to sell off my textile business, got into real estate, and went on to it with a full-fledged way. After that, I didn't have to go back. Take another part of what I did. I was working very hard in my businesses. It was difficult up to time. By the time I became 48, I had a problem. My health was starting to create problems for me. I went to my school, camping school in Mumbai, and the old boys had to run a race. They were kind to me. The race was only 20 meters. But by the time I ran 20 meters, I was panting. And I said, oh my God, if at 48 this is happening to me, What's going to happen by the time I'll become 60? Nevertheless, I'm already 70. And but at that point of time, I was a little afraid of myself, and I thought, I'm sure my heart will give away. So I started getting into a gym and slowly picked up my exercise. Today, over a period of time, let's go on a fast forward. Age 69, last year, I used to gym 3 days a week, 2 days a week do yoga, and 1 day a week run 5 kilometers at least, and at least do the marathon or the 10 kilometers part of a marathon every year, or maybe twice a year. So it's not the age is not an issue. Targets are not an issue. And at any age and any point of time, this can happen. But once you have your thoughts clear in terms of your aspiration, your businesses, downfalls will take place, challenges will definitely happen, changes, situation will take place. We have to learn to adapt to those changes. Pitfalls will happen. There will be many issues which will happen. But the moment we are ready to put in that passion for doing something there, hard work just comes and happens by your way. Today, the young people like you have huge opportunities. In our days, debt capital was not easily available. Debt was very, very expensive. I used to even pay at private interest at the rate of 2% per month and stuff like that when I started business. But today, those changes have gone. So your opportunities for young people at your age are many, many which can happen. So what I want to share with you, my young friends, is that you are in the right country, which is India. The opportunities of India can only grow upwards. We have the COVID times, which is a setback. But as I and you spoke just now, change, the persons who can adapt to the new change will be the people who will be able to do better in the next era, because so many of people cannot adapt to the changes that take place. You are much more learned, you have better ideas, better skill sets, you are much more qualified, you have much more ideas which you learn through Ahmedabad, through your courses that you do, the background that you have already picked up in terms of experience in the last 2 or 3 or 4 years or 5 years that you have already had work experience before joining this executive course. I'm sure a combination of all this and all your learning will put you on a fast track forward, so that after a couple of years, I will not give the example of Reliance or other companies or my own companies, but you will share with me your story, and I will be able to give your story to various people and tell them that, look, these were the students of IIM Ahmedabad that I spoke to, and these are the ones which have made new successes, and this is their story. So I hope that you have a great story and that you have a great history in your life, which will be memorable and happy and passionate, and something which will drive you to make this entrepreneurship that you are looking forward to through this executive course a great success. I wish you all the best. I'm open to questions and answers that you would like me to speak. And I've just covered a part of an aspect which I thought may be interest to you as getting into this entrepreneurship course. But I'm open to any question, whether it's on real estate or any other aspect of it, all open to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hiranandani, for that address. It was very, very insightful, and I think we all are going to leave this session 30 minutes later with a different perspective altogether. Um, so we can start with the questions. There are a few questions that we had received in advance. So I'm going to start with the first one that I have for you. What can we do in the Indian society to vanish the prejudice of parents who say that women entrepreneurs cannot succeed when it comes to businesses? More so, I think there is this mindset where people believe that the life of a girl child should not be put into risky ventures, because if she fails, then it it impacts the entire prospects, her future prospects. Also, the second part to that question would be any open tips that you might have for all entrepreneurs, all aspiring entrepreneurs, a part of this conversation right now.
Okay, I'm going to share with you a story of my daughter, Priya. Uh, Priya did her chartered accountancy from a company called Arthur Anderson. It's no more now. She joined the company after that on consultancy at age around 21, 22, called Ambit in Mumbai. Then she joined my company in the real estate side and did 6 months stint of marketing and finance and other thing. And she came up to me one day and she said, Papa, and you know, when your daughter says Papa in that tone, you know you're in for some trouble. So, she came up and she says, Papa, I don't want to work for you anymore. So I said, why don't you want to work for me? I love you, my darling, and I'll be very happy if you continue to work with me. She said, you know, I don't want to work for you because when I do anything right, it is Niranjan's daughter. So obviously she knows everything. So she did it. And so you get the credit that I'm your daughter. And if I do anything wrong, Niranjan's daughter, and she can't do this right. I'm getting nowhere in my life because of that. So she decided to start, and she came to me after 2-3 months, and she said she wanted to start what we call a call center. And this is many years ago, because now Priya is 44 years old. And I'm telling you an old story. At that time, when she told me that it was a call center, so I said, what's a call center? And I didn't know what a call center was. So she explained me what a call center is at that point of time. And I said, oh, this is a telephone operating business. She said, Papa, you are so old. You don't understand. This is a new line of business. And I think it has a good prospect. So she started call center in my office at age 21 and a half. And she built that business into a company called Zenta Technologies. At the age of 27, Priya Hiranandani, a girl, my daughter, after a small investment from me, sold that company to an American company for having 4,500 employees at a valuation of 100 million US dollars at her age of 27. So let me tell you that girls are no less than anybody else. And 27 was approximately the time when I started business with no money in my hand. I had less than 2 lakhs of rupees investment capital which was available. And my daughter at the age of 27 had encashed a valuation of 100 million US dollars. So yes, the girls in those days had a problem, but so did men. But now the girls and boys have equal access to capital, equal access to technology, equal access to all the aspects of it. And I don't see there any problems to be there. Yeah, the parents do feel that the girls should get married. And the boys' parents also want their children, sons to get married and so on and so forth. But I think the opportunities for entrepreneurship, for good professionals to be in the world of thing, India has no problem. India has had prime ministers who have been women. Women. We had a prime minister woman. We have had presidents which are women. We even had a president of in India being a woman before the United States has had. So I don't see that has happened. But yes, over a period of time, social norms do keep the women down. But I don't think with the kind of education you and I have and which is available today, that the women of today are not having this opportunity. Most of all, it's in the minds of the women, and people drill it into the minds of the girls that they are not as good and they are not fit for this and they are not fit for that. But it's all bullshit. So please remove that shit from your mind if it is there for any girl or any woman that is there. that no, you are equally opportunity. My worry is about the men. The men should also be equally entrepreneurship, because I find that the men are also equally not taking forward entrepreneurship in the manner it will be there. So in India, I don't think it's lacking, but yes, it is there in the minds of many parents that the girl child should not have to be entrepreneurship, professional or otherwise, and should be a good housewife. But that's changing, and I don't think it's there. My daughter has proved it that it is not so, and I'm sure many other girls who are now in this class with you will also prove it, and including you.
Thank you, Dr. Hiranandani, and I really hope that your words come true completely on point. And I couldn't agree more when you said that you are that about the drilling aspect. How I think over a period of time it was just an ideology that developed and drilled inside our head, but it's fast changing. So that's where the happiness lies. All right, so now I'll move on to the questions from everyone who is in the meeting. And let's start with Professor Vishwanath Pingli. I think he has a question for you. Professor, would you like to come online?
Sure, thanks, Nitika. And Dr. Hiranandani, thank you very much for your brilliant talk. I especially connected with one point you made, which is that you follow your passion, and hopefully, when you do that, things work out fine. And I do believe that to a certain extent, I also subscribe to that philosophy. But here is a question that I actually have very seriously. Having taught for quite a few years at IIM Ahmedabad and also abroad at quite a few prestigious schools, what's your advice to students about following one's passion? The reason why I ask this is because there are trade-offs as far as quote-unquote lucrative careers are concerned, quote-unquote risky careers are concerned, and quote-unquote passionate careers are concerned, right? How do you think the younger generation, and pardon me for including myself in that, by the way, how do you think the younger generation and the quote unquote smarter Indians understand this conundrum? Thank you.
Professor, it's a wonderful question, and this is something which I think each person in their lives do it. And I find people who are even 70 and 80 and 90s don't have an answer, which is absolutely perfect. So I may not be able to give you a perfect answer, but I can only tell you one thing. We get married in the Indian situation where we have arranged marriages, and those marriages succeed more than even love marriages. Why do they succeed? It's because you start using your mind beyond the situation that it is and put a benchmark which makes a difference. So what is it that you actually do? When you pick up a particular job, let's take the boring subject of real estate, which is the one which I have. A brick mortar, the underworld are connected. It's connected with black money. It's connected with everything which is wrong. You misuse of FSI, cheating of customers, making bad quality buildings, buildings that leak. You name it, and real estate is a horrible subject. Okay? So what did I do? Whatever it is. I learned to make good buildings. And I said, I want to make a building which I will be happy to live in. And every customer I sell a building or an apartment to should feel that he's got a house which is a good quality house. So I remember 1987, I started the Powai project, which is just across the road from IIT Mumbai. And I called one of my engineers who was in charge that time, and I told him I want to make a building which doesn't leak, either the terrace or the plumbing. And he told me, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, walked out. And I could hear him laughing outside my room. And I checked back as to what he was saying, as to what from somebody else. And he started laughing. He said, the boss is always right. But in reality, in this case, he is always wrong. I've worked in two of the best companies in India. And every building which we have constructed for X company and Y company, after 5 years leak, the walls leak, the bathrooms leak. The terraces definitely leak in heavy monsoon. So what's so great about a Hiranandani building which leaks? I was pretty shocked because for me, I couldn't understand that enterprise because I thought engineering was about perfectionism and not really question. I changed my chief engineer and got some young people into the company, and we worked together. I now guarantee none of my buildings leak. The terraces don't leak, and this is not today. This is since 27 years. If my building leaks, the terraces leak, I'll repair it free of cost for 10 years. If the bathrooms are leaking, we will repair the bathrooms. If the bathrooms do not get repaired, we will break the bathrooms and redo the concealed plumbing. So we set up a thing. Over a period of time, I made a reputation in Mumbai. Hiranandani's buildings never leak. It became a passion and response. We made concrete roads for the first time in Mumbai. We made different sorts of plumbing measures, which made a world of a difference. We made 100 acres of gardens and forests. I took a revenue land and made a forest. I made the first sewage recycling plant in India, in Powai. 4 million liters per day we recycle in Powai and 4 million liters in Thane. All of a sudden, this dirty line became a lovely line because I certainly made a change in this entire thing and I became passionate. Everybody loved me, not because I'm 6 feet tall or good looking or I speak well, but because I made good products. So the people loved me for it. I put up a school in Powai. It was one of the best schools in Mumbai. I put up a hospital. It's one of the best hospitals in Mumbai, if not India. I put up a go-karting track. It was one of the best go-karting tracks in the country. So whatever I did, I wanted to do it better. I set up the first supermarket in Mumbai called Heiko. It's still there. And it's a beautiful supermarket. It's better than most of the supermarkets in the area. It really has a reputation. So a dirty line, which only black marketeers, smugglers, cheaters, people who cheat the public do it. I changed the line and made a reputation for my company, made my customers happy. I sell at a price which is 33% higher than my immediate neighbor. And people are very happy to pay for it because they know that the quality of my product is going to be good. So I converted a line which is thoroughly useless into a line of my passion. I'm passionate about what I create, the townships that I create. So they said, "Arey, ye to one-off hai. Hiranandani ek baar kar diya to kya hua?" Nothing is going to be like that. I set up a second township at Thane. That became even more successful than that. I built a mixed-use township. Most of the townships in Mumbai was residential or commercial. Nobody made a mixed-use township which is as successful as mine. I experimented in that line because I felt, वो आगे दुकान पीछे मकान हमारे हिंदुस्तान की कहवत है, तो क्यों नहीं walk to work हम करें? So in the English tenure we call it walk to work. हमारे हिंदुस्तानी में हम बोलते हैं आगे दुकान पीछे मकान. ऐसे हिंदुस्तान में पहले से चलता रहा. So this, we just change the language, but actually you do a passion. Now suddenly I have been on the government committee of the Prime Minister for affordable housing. I worked on the segment of making housing for all. I'm heading the Naretco organization. I worked on the slum rehabilitation scheme for government of Maharashtra and drafted that scheme for them and worked on it. So suddenly a line which looks so dirty and unbelievable, I made it a passionate thing for myself because it's my line. So anything that you do, whether it is a teacher who teaches, I love teaching. Incidentally, Professor, I have 45,000 students in Mumbai. I have 14 colleges. I have now a new university, a cluster university, the HR College, KC College, and BTTC College. The last month we inaugurated during COVID a university in Mumbai, having first time liberal education and interdisciplinary subjects that we are taken up here in Mumbai. And one of the other passion is to speak to students. And I love speaking to students. So I do that very passionately. So anything that I take up, has to have a passion into it. Even if it's speaking, even if it's teaching, I must do it passionately, or I don't want to do it at all. And once you get into that type of thought process with whatever you do, whether it's construction, whether it's acting, whether it's anything that you do, if you can convert that into a passionate thing and you have to do it, it's similar to an arranged marriage becoming a love marriage instead of a love marriage becoming a divorce.
Brilliant, Dr. Hiranandani. I think you couldn't have explained it better. The analogy was on point. And all right, I'll move on to the next question. I think we have Gaurav Mishra who wants to address you. Gaurav, can you come online?
Yeah, I'm online.
Go
Good
ahead.
afternoon, sir. It's a privilege to have you as a speaker for us. So I just have a very small question, like how as a leader you encourage your team for the rapid changes that happen in your own sector, for just for as an example, because the sustainability kind of thing that's coming up in the real estate market, and similarly the RERA changes that happen, similar kind of rapid changes can happen in any other sector. So how as a leader you encourage your team and keep everyone involved?
Very good question. Unfortunately, Kodak didn't understand it. Reliance did. Two companies in other companies in India also did not understand it. The companies were names were Fiat and Ambassador. These two companies were functioning since independence, and at the time when the rapidity of change took place in policy, where new cars could come in, government of Maharashtra promised Fiat, that premier automobiles company Fiat, that don't change the technology and keep the workers, don't remove the workers, keep the old system running, don't automate it. West Bengal government committed that all the cars purchased by the government will be ambassadors, don't change the technology. Within 5 years, both the companies have become bankrupt. They've been closed down and gone into it. Kodak got bankrupt because no change took place. So, what is the story? The story is that the world changes. If you don't change when the world changes or requires you to change, then you'll be out of business. There's no question about whether you like it or you don't like it or the difficulty that you have. Let's presume you can't make the change. Some other company will make the change and you will be wiped out. So change is imperative. How rapidly you adapt to that change is your funeral or your success. So if you think of it this way, that we must keep on looking at innovation, we must keep on looking at new opportunities that come, whether in terms of the business that you run or the changes in the business that are going to come in. You have to look at it and watch out carefully. Changes in behavior with your own people are also equally important. As you grow up, the changes that you will have and see. I have children, children grew up. When they are babies, they are different. When they grow up, they are different. When they are teenagers, they are different. When they get married, they are different. When they have children, they are different. If I don't accommodate myself to the changes that take place in my own children, I will be out of their circulation or closeness to my children. So it's not only about the business. You got to adapt to situations which take place every time in our lives in different aspects of life, even human relationships. So change is imperative. You better get ready and be used to do it. How do we get used to the change? Take one step, learn the new thing, take a second step, learn it again. After you do 100 times the same new step, you will become an expert on the new step and you will be comfortable with it. But in the beginning, you have to get out of your bloody comfort zone and start saying, okay, what are the new things that I need to learn? What are the new things that we have to do in order to see that we adapt to the new situation? So whether it's an educational institution like IIM, or it is a business that you do, or a professional that you do, change is imperative. And in the next few years, change is going to take place much faster. So when I became a chartered accountant, the education that I had and the knowledge that I picked up in my education career, when I did my examination, stood me good stead for 15, 20 years, after which I had to learn the new things. Today in time, it's obsolete in 7, 8 years. So whatever a chartered accountant learns now, if he doesn't pick up the nuances of the new things that are happening, he will be an old chartered accountant in 7 or 10 years. He will be out of date and out of practice also. So that is the kind of change and rapidity of change that is taking place in the country. But there is an advantage and easy thing. Today, you can learn new things so easily. You can go on the net, it's available. There are online courses which will teach you what you are. It's possibility to access new technologies. You know what I did during this lockup time? I learned to do jive, the dance through a VC training. So next time, if you want, you can watch my wife and me do a jive. And we have never done ballroom dancing all our lives. Never done it ever. But now I can do it fully. So we picked up something which was totally out of the way, totally foreign to both of us. And we really didn't know a thing about it. Now I'm learning the Zumba. So it's going to be a part of it. So what is it? We got locked in for so much time and we had time for ourselves. So besides the work that we do, which we both do, she's also working and I'm also working. But in our little spare time that we've been able to do, we worked on it. So how did I learn dancing? Online. I have a teacher which teaches us online and then we practice it separately. So learning has become much easier than it used to be before. And hence you have to learn. And new ideas and thoughts are all available. It's up to us to read. It's up to us to go on the internet. It's up to us to see. It's up to us to keep our ears open. And most of all, pick up mentors. Mentors whom you should emulate, not copy. People copy people. Don't copy people. Emulate people. Pick up good ideas from people and apply it appropriately to your own line of business.
Thank you, Dr. Hiranandani. The idea about learning different dance forms during COVID, I think, is very, very inspiring. And I hope I would have used my time better and at least picked up on one out of them.
Then I'll dance with you.
Oh, that would be an honor. All right, we can move on to the next question. I think Saurabh Joshi has a question for you. Saurabh, can you come online?
Yeah, thank you, sir, for speaking so candidly about the real estate industry. Actually, till the time from I am remembering, there's always been a saying among economists that there is an artificial inflation in the real estate industry across India. So, do you really think it is true or just a promoted rumor? And if it's true, are we expecting a correction anytime soon? Because then I can start daydreaming about my penthouse in Hiranandani Gardens. Thank you.
you, you can have a penthouse. We've already discounted it, so you can come and take it now. Why wait for future? There are three parts to your answer. Unfortunately, being in the line, I can give you a different explanation. Most of the problems have actually come over a period of time, not only because of inflation in cost of construction, but cost of land. The land values in city centers have been inflated terribly, and the regulation in terms of various laws and things have actually compounded this offense. Mumbai has the richest city in India, called Mumbai, has 50% people living in jhopatpattis. It has nothing to do with the poverty of the people living in jhopatpattis. Almost half the people could buy a house if we had constructed it of the small size houses, and loans would be available to them. They would have been able to afford it. But because of the type of regulation, which I'm not going to go into, those people could never afford a house. However, the segmentation is now completely changing. You're going to have segments of high income housing, you're going to have middle income housing, and you're going to have affordable housing. And fortunately, in the segment of affordable housing, there is a huge demand which is going to be there. So the businesses of business over a period of time is going to be for affordable housing. Let me give you a small analogy. In the year 2019, BMW sold 9,000 odd cars, about 9,000 cars in 2019. Mercedes-Benz sold 10,700 cars in the year 2019. And Maruti Suzuki sold 1.7 million cars. So in the affordable housing segment, there's an unlimited demand which is going to be there. And those who can construct Maruti houses will be very, very profitable and huge business that is there. So the Mercedes-Benz of the houses will continue and the BMWs will be there. But the mid-segment housing is certainly going to be cheaper and you will get a benefit. Number two, we have the interest rates have dropped. It has come down to 6.9%. I think it can come down to 6.5%. In the affordable housing segment, there's a 3% interest subsidy which is available for PMIY schemes and that segment of the society. So it's there. But the interest subsidy will not be available for the penthouse of Hiranandani projects. So you'll have to pay the full 6.9% interest, and you can pay 20% down, and the rest you can pay over a period of 22 years. So it'll be benefit, and the first 2 years the EMI can be also lowered to suit whatever your budget is. So there are lots of schemes and things to buy penthouses or housing nowadays, which was not available earlier to you. And hence the field of housing is definitely going to continue to grow. But there's one change. When Unilever wants to bring out a new soap, they do market research as to what is the demand for that type of soap and the price line. Real estate people are stupid. They don't do research. They copy other people. अरे वो बिल्डर जो है ना अदानी है ना वो अदानी इतने भाव में बेचते हैं ये फ्लैट तो हम भी અમે પણ એ ભાવમાં વેચશું કેમ કે અદાની ત્યાં વેચે છે. Now they don't understand that Adani is selling so many flats, but the market is not big enough for everybody to become an Adani in Ahmedabad or XYZ in Mumbai or a Lodha in Mumbai. So you have to make a market research as to what is your segment of it and what is the quantity that you're going to do. So there is. But yes, there is a correction in prices. In fact, the prices have not increased. And because of inflation, in reality, real terms, the prices have come down. And there are segments where the prices are going to come down. But if you wait for the prices to come down and buy, then you may not ever get a flat. So you might as well buy a smaller house, take it up now, and then gravitate to a bigger house as and when you want to do it. So buy a house quickly now. I'm marketing.
Definitely. Dr. Hiranandani, I think it's a dream for each one of us to have a house in the Hiranandani Towers. And Saurabh Joshi is going for a penthouse. So he's going to be the richer one from all of us anyway. All right. I think we're running out of time. So we'll take the last question for the session. Mohit Saxena, you have a question. Please come online.
Yeah, thanks, Nitika. Thank you, sir, for spending this afternoon with us. So I have like kind of a follow-up question to what you already talked about, affordable housing. So do you think that the sector should now focus on building, creating a new asset class, like something, say, low-cost living quarters for the migrant workers, for that matter? Because we have seen a lot of disruption happening due to these workers not having a permanent home to call so. And what are the major challenges? One I can see is, of course, the land cost. But do you think that there could be this new asset class which needs to be now focused on by the sector?
The first thing, let me add on some information to you. The government of India has now brought about a bill, which is the Model Rent Act bill, which in fact would like to encourage rental housing in India. You may be aware that almost 35% of all housing in America is rental housing, and people from birth to death live in rental houses. But also the fact that the REIT and everything is also there for residential housing. Now, today in India, the REIT is only there where foreign investments are taking place in the commercial part of it. And I think as the development of the rental market picks up and we get much more long-term tenancies that are going to be there in the rental market, yes, the answer is yes, over a period of time, it's going to be there. But whether the low-cost housing is going to be rational enough for the purposes of investments in terms of rental, I don't know. That time will tell, and I'm not able to make a judgment call on that. So that answer I'm not able to give you. But yes, middle class housing, other segments of housing, definitely rental housing is a way to go. And there's going to be a large amount of investments into this sector. And as it becomes more professionally managed in terms of not only giving it out on rent, but managing these properties. Because ultimately, who will look after these properties? Because ultimately, if there is a question of the landlord, they need good management companies who will look after it, similar to what is happening in the case of commercial properties. And once that happens, international investments will also come into that segment, and there is quite a possibility that this will happen. It's starting now. We are kind of work together with the government of India for this policy, and you will see it rolling out very quickly. Maybe in the next 6 months, Prime Minister will announce this policy, and you will see a lot of rollout will take place in this segment. So rental housing is definitely the story of the future, and investment into this class will happen. But whether for the lowest segment of society it will be affordable or not is a question mark, and partly the problem is land cost.
Thank you, Dr. Hiranandani. I think it's 4:03 and we should begin wrapping up the session. So I'm going to come back to you and say thank you for spending this afternoon with us. I think you beautifully touched upon all of the themes that we had in mind, including real estate, leadership, and your entrepreneurial journey. So thank you once again from the entire PGPX batch. And Professor Pinkley, would you like to come online and say a few words?
Thanks, Nitika. Normally, I get to cold call students in the class for some of the stuff I teach in the class, but today I get cold called, despite the fact that I've done my due diligence as far as asking questions are concerned. But let me just say more formally, thank you very much. I think the more students listen to practitioners, as against the fellows who sit on the ivory towers, namely the academics like me, the more they gain in terms of practical knowledge. And who but you to, one of the leading stars in India in real estate to come online and tell them a thing or two about life. Let me also tell you, I keep on debating with them that there are advantages of virtual presence. A simple example to that would be the fact that we could afford to have you online today. I mean, to address the batch, normally asking you to come to Ahmedabad would have probably been an extremely expensive proposition in terms of your time. I mean, nothing more than that. So therefore, to that extent, I'm very grateful to you for taking time today and coming and talking to the batch about the practical aspects of doing business. I'm sure if if we had blocked more of your time, we would still be having plenty of questions to ask you, including myself. I've had at least 3, 4 that I would have loved to touch base with you, but I'm sure there are occasions where I would get to get your clarifications on what I have. But in the meantime, once again, thanks for taking time and thanks for addressing the batch. Really grateful.
I'll look forward to come again. I'll look forward to come again and finish all your questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hiranandani.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.